Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to this conversation about your Kundalini awakening experiences. In this conversation, I'd like to talk with you about the amygdala. These are two parts of your brain. There's an almond-shaped organ on either side of the brain, and this almond-shaped organ on either side of the brain is called the amygdala. The amygdala has a lot to do with how we process our emotional body. You're going to hear the bird in the background, maybe the dogs helping someone come to the door, maybe the phone too. So just letting you know some of the distractions. The amygdala helps us process our emotional body, our emotional awareness. And you really want to understand that our emotional body is a huge, heavyweight player within the Kundalini. Okay, it's a very big player. And especially in the beginning stages when we're going through the egotism, dark night of the soul, when we're going through the major changes that are in many ways forced upon us by the Kundalini. Back this up a little bit. And so you've got to understand this in the Western societies, emotions, and certainly in some of the Western European societies as well, where they're very stoic about things, emotions are not seen as important as mental facts. We want to mentalize faster, deeper, stronger, more encompassing, whereas the emotional body isn't really looked at. And if you heard that, the crow tends to agree. So the emotional body isn't taken as seriously as some of the other functions of the brain, some of the other 5 bodies of the human expression. The emotional body will literally take you over at times. Times of extreme happiness and joy, times of extreme sadness and grief. And the amygdala is the guard at the gate, so to speak. It can help you bring an emotion in, and it can keep certain emotions out. You've got to remember that the ego is all about emotions. The ego is all about emotions. It thrives on emotions. And entities thrive on their attachment to the ego, and so they too will use emotions as a platform of obstruction within you. And, you're going to hear a lot of this. This just comes to mind right now. If you look on the internet, they'll say that, well, the entities are just expressions of us. Yes, it's all us. We are one with everything. And to some degree, that's true. We are one with everything. The entities are here for us to learn from. It is known that because of our egotism, we will not potentiate specific kinds of learnings that are necessary for us to do. We won't do it because it's not comfortable, it's not happy, it doesn't make us feel good, we don't get pleasure from it. And yet, it still must be done within the Kundalini context. And so you have this real diverse goal within the Kundalini. Without the awakening, if you're a normal, what we term sleeper, if a sleeper person without the Kundalini, not wakening up, their pursuits are for pleasure, power, possession, pleasure, and the avoidance of pain, the fear of loss and the want of gain. That is the equation of most people within the egotistic structures of evolution within our society on this world at this time, 2000 and whatever. I'll leave it a mystery. 2000. So, with the Kundalini, it's about depossessing yourself in many different ways. taking the possession of entities away from you, taking possessions of attachments to materiality away from you, taking out the competitive value system of the law of the jungle, the might is right type of ideology. And so the Kundalini is really working in a different, almost a reverse vector of transformation upon the individual. At the same time that we're being expanded, we're having those aspects of our emotions and our egotism removed from our being by virtue of denial. Okay, denial of certain aspects. With the emotions, the treasure that they represent within us, the emotions are extremely critical to how we process the Kundalini. Okay, the emotions are where we can harbor fear. This is where the ego comes in and harbors fear. This is where fear is allowed to control us. This is where we still cling to the idea of the fear of loss and the want of gain, and this is where the entities will begin to control and manipulate. The amygdala, getting back to that, the amygdala can control this. The amygdala is a huge deal. The amygdala is to the brain like the heart is to the cardiovascular system. I mean, within an emotional body context, it's a very, very important tool that we have to use on either side of the brain. And it allows us to experience specific emotions or not. Okay, you can access the amygdala by choosing to experience a certain emotion, and this is way back when the safeties were written. The Kundalini Awakening safety protocols were written. Inner joy came out as one of the safeties, to practice inner joy, to experience inner joy, to allow inner joy to modulate how you experience your life within difficult times, like, say, during a dark night of the soul. By initiating inner joy, consciously and purposefully, you're using the amygdala. Let's just say to access some inner joy. Let's take you back to when you won something. You won something at a raffle. You won something in a contest. You won something at a casino. Whatever it is, you won something. And as you're looking at the possibility, the opportunity, I should say, in your current mindset to experiencing something extremely negative, somebody is being combative with you, you get pulled over by the cops, you get whatever it might be, some terrible thing, you lose a lot of money, you're breaking up romantically with somebody. You must have the discipline to insert the inner joy. The tool for that insertion, the screwdriver that makes that insertion possible, is the amygdala. And you'll notice that there are two organs of the amygdala on either side of the brain, and of course, so you have sacred feminine amygdala and you have sacred masculine amygdala. Okay? And they both control the various aspects of our sacred masculine, sacred feminine selves, and they also help to channel those aspects of the Kunalini through us and into us as we navigate the emotional expression of a Kundalini transformation within a society that is ruled by the ego. You're surrounded by egotism all the time. And you're supposed to be. Okay? You're supposed to be surrounded by egotism all the time. This gives you an idea of what not to do, how not to go backwards, how not to reinvent yourself. You don't reinvent yourself within a Kundalini context by virtue of egotistic emulation of other egotistic behaviors. It's not how you do it, folks. You must transcend the egotistic behaviors. And I'm not one of these teachers that'll say, kill the ego, destroy the ego. The ego's bad. Now, the ego can be bad, but you don't kill something just because it's bad in your interpretation of it. And you certainly don't kill something that's been a big part of your behaviorism on this world, that's been protecting you, that's been guiding you, that's been helping you to survive, which is what the ego has been doing up to the point of Kundalini awakening. Okay? It's like you're not teaching kindergartners the same lessons that you teach them in college. They are able to evolve. And within our evolution with the Kundalini, we evolve away from the petty, egotistic, emotional behaviors like temper tantrums, and I should say we would hope that you have the ability to evolve beyond temper tantrums or, my way or the highway, or, egotistic valuations such as that. And once again, the amygdala allows this to occur. And so a lot of people are asking me, well, how do you work the amygdala? What do you do? And it's just like, well, how do you work your occipital lobe, which is how you see, what the eyes use for viewing. The image comes through your eye, and it's translated to the occipital lobe, and it's bounced back into the brain, so you know what it is. When I look at the, at the teacup here, I know that it's a teacup because I've seen it. It's bounced back to the occipital lobe and then forward, image of teacup, boom, there it is. Same thing with, a watermelon or whatever it might be, a chair. With the amygdala, the emotions are bounced back the same way or similar ways that happens with the occipital lobe and the visual cortex. And so with the amygdala, if you don't want to experience a certain emotion, replace it with another emotion. Using the visual cortex as an example, I'll use these here. If you don't want to see the battery, and the battery is giving you a bad feeling, whatever, and you prefer to see the ring here, then you force yourself to see the ring. You bring the image of the ring in your mind, and you excise the image of the battery out of your mind, and so you focus on the ring. That focus, that replacement of the emotion, let's say the battery represents sadness and the ring represents joy. So you replace the sadness with the joy. The amygdala is what allows you to do that. It allows you to make that replacement. So to practice working with the amygdala, you take an assessment of your emotional body and you feel, well, what am I feeling right now? How am I feeling right now? And how would I prefer to feel? To test out this guy's theory, Mr. Chrism's theory, I want to feel brave. I want to feel courageous. And right now, I'm not. Right now, I'm in the middle of my dark night soul, and I'm feeling very, very vulnerable. I'm feeling very, very lost. I'm feeling very, very angry and contemptuous of this whole process because it's not, it doesn't feel good, and my ego doesn't like it at all, and I feel like I'm being manipulated and used by forces I don't understand, and I can't see, and I can't touch, and they're not telling me at least, and if they are telling me it's something corruptive, and oh my God, lions and tigers and bears, oh my. Lions, tigers, bears, oh my. All Kundalini creatures, hello. just want to know, a little Dorothy wisdom there. So you choose another way of thinking. You choose to bring in a memory of something that caused you joy, emotional joy. Joy is an emotion. It's not an object. It's an emotion that can be centered around an object. You You can look at a new car, if you know, for those of us in the States, United States, and India, they're really car oriented as well, and you can see, wow, that Corvette, boy, that really brings me a lot of happiness. Look at that! Oh my gosh, I am so happy to see that, and that will indeed bring you a level of happiness that will indeed displace some of the more hurtful emotional experiences that you'll be having. And this is what the amygdala does. It allows you to control your emotions. So you look at some of the soldier training. This is what's being pushed into my brain right now. So you look at some of the soldier training, and some of the soldiers training is like 10, hut, 1, 2. And you can't smile, you can't frown, you just have to look like you're a robot. No emotions, nothing like that. And as you go into a conflict, that training of having no emotions is like, that training is controlled by the amygdala. The amygdala gets so strong in not expressing the emotion, not allowing the emotion to be expressed through the body, that when they go into a level of combat as a soldier, to some degree, and it's different for each person, but to some degree, they are able to not allow the atrocities that they see happening around them affect their performance as a soldier. And I'm not going to go into that. Okay. That can be pretty harsh. Okay. It's the amygdala that controls this. You go into a corporate situation, and it's just another kind of warfare, really. It's all competition. And you're at the big company meeting, and people are getting fired right and left. Wow, am I going to be fired? And do you allow yourself to cringe and fear and show the terror on your face? Oh, Mom, I got to get fired. No. You access your amygdala, and you replace that with a level of stoic courage. You replace it with a level of strength, even if it's just a veneer of strength. And it's the amygdala that will determine how believable you are to those around you, how strong that expression of strength and courage is around you. It's the amygdala that controls this. Remember, sacred masculine amygdala, this is on my right side, sacred masculine amygdala, sacred feminine amygdala. They often will work in concert together, and sometimes they'll just work on their own when they're dealing with the issues of sacred gender within the Kundalini. Okay. The amygdala is a big deal, my friends. And you may be asking, well, Master Chrism, if it's such a big deal, then how come this is the first time you've spoke of it? Well, it isn't the first time. But it's the first time I've made a video about it. That's for sure. And, it's just all I can say is that the time has come. I hadn't planned on writing that article about the amygdala. I hadn't planned on doing any of these things. These are things that come straight from the Kundalini. It's the Kundalini that determines what is said here in these videos. It's the Kundalini that determines what it is I'm writing on the groups or on my page or anywhere. It's the Kundalini that determines this. And with the Kundalini, you have the physical being right here, and you have the Kundalini right here. And this is what happens when you're awakened. You become one with that. You become at one with it, and yet you can still differentiate between yourself and the divine self. Okay? Yourself and the divine self. And sometimes that differentiation can become very, very thin. But your ego is never really allowed, at least my ego is never really allowed to dive into thinking that, oh, I'm God, I am Jesus, Buddha, Allah, all mixed into one, you must all, bow and submit and all these things. This has never really been part of my equation. Even when people do devotion, and I'm involved in that devotion, it's always to the Kundalini. Always. You must always remember that. And so, with the amygdala, you are given inner tools to work through your emotional qualities and the emotional upgrades that the Kundalini is giving you. I hope the bird isn't interrupting too much. I may just have to put him outside for the next few videos. Let me know. Tell me if the bird is distracting you. He's quite talkative today. Thank you for watching.